What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery, welcome back to my channel. What I do here is I break down the occult sciences, if you don't already know, and I break them down to a very practical level so that you can use them and apply them in your day-to-day life and get real, actual results with the things that I am speaking about simply by just altering your observation and awareness. Okay, so without further ado, let me explain really quick who I am, just so that you know who you're getting this information from. My name is Jeremiah Schwartz. I am a professional occultist. I am fully initiated in the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot. And I'm also studied when it comes to planetary energies in direct connection to astrology. Okay, so without further ado, let's go into the topic of the video. What we're going to be talking about in today's video is a subject that tons of people have been subtly asking me about. I've been getting tons of questions in regards to this topic, so I figured now is the time to make a video about it. And obviously, I have a lot of knowledge on this subject, so I am more than happy to be speaking about it publicly. Okay, so what is the topic? The topic is, what happens after death? Okay, now a common question that I get asked is, am I going to suffer after I die? Okay, so obviously, you know, I can answer that in a way that's going to be, sugarcoating, where I could say, no, you're gonna just, everything's gonna be fine. You're just gonna reincarnate, and you're gonna have another chance at everything. Or I could give you the more authentic reality behind what happens after death for the majority of mankind. So if you want to know what's really happening to most people after death, then this is definitely your video, so make sure you stay tuned. Okay, so let's start here. Let's start off with drawing this context so that we understand what is happening here and what we're speaking about and why we're speaking about it in this way. So as I said from the intro, I mentioned that death is oftentimes very lightly handled. And what I mean by that is that, you know, a lot of people will simply try to ease over death in the afterlife in a way that's just like, oh yeah, you know, if you don't get it in this lifetime, if you don't understand what you're here to do, if you don't understand your potential, then all that's simply going to happen is you're going to die, you're going to dissolve into source, and then you're going to reincarnate and have another chance. Okay? Once again, that is the more, let's say, ignorant answer to people's question of what happens after death. If somebody tells you that's all that happens, then they obviously do not know truly what takes place to the majority of mankind after they die. So the reason why I'm going to tell you the authentic reality of what happens after death is obviously because I understand it. Okay, and the reason I understand it is because I'm a black brother in the occult field. What does that mean? That means I'm an initiate when it comes to inorganic and dark matter energy. So I have a very strong understanding of what hell actually is. Okay? And I have a strong understanding of what most people are programmed to believe in their lifetime, that then leads to the outcome of them going to a location which has been known as the middle place, also known as hell, also known as the underworld, after death. And that is why I'm telling you, if you're listening to this, this is the reality that is going to happen to the majority of mankind. What happens after death for the majority of mankind is their souls actually travel to an underworld plane. So in a Kabbalistic sense, their souls will travel to one of the Clipothic spheres. And in that Clipothic sphere, they will get tortured, which is basically going to result in them, after death, It's basically their astral body. Their awareness transfers into their astral body, which is locked into one of the Qliphothic spheres, which is like basically you could think of it as a plane within the underworld. And that plane within the underworld is it's a hellish environment that causes you to constantly contemplate all the mistakes you've made in your life. Okay, so that's basically how it will manifest, and how it does manifest for the majority of people on our planet when they pass. Okay, what happens is their souls, or excuse me, let me say it like this. What happens after death is their awareness transfers into their astral body, which is the soul body, and throughout the life of that human being, their soul was actually shelled in the underworld the whole time. So I'll go into a little bit more of an explanation of why that is. But let me explain this first. What happens is their awareness transfers to their astral body. The astral body was already locked into a hell realm, which in Kabbalistic terms is one of the Qliphothic spheres, which is the spheres below the Sephiroth. And these are basically different universes and multiverses. We'll say multiverses of dark matter energy. That's why it's called the underworld or hell. Okay. So the awareness will transfer into the astral body that was already previously shelled within the Qliphoth, and then they will basically wake up in their astral body and realize, holy fuck, I'm in hell. And that natural cause is going to, depending on what Qliphothic shell they're locked into, they're going to have to do a lot of rethinking and a lot of contemplation with their awareness of all the mistakes they've made in their lifetime and previous lifetimes that prevented them from getting themselves out of that Qliphothic shell. And once they get to the end of that contemplation, then what happens is that energy will then basically transfer into source, dissolve into source, and then they reincarnate with a blank slate of consciousness and then have an opportunity to break out of the shell again. But once again, that doesn't guarantee that they're going to break out of the shell in the new carnation. So oftentimes what happens within the human species is people will literally go through this process over and over and over and over for thousands of years. Okay, so let me explain. So the human species oftentimes gets stuck in cycles of hell, which means in their physical life here on Earth, their souls get shelled. This is the common state this is the common energetic state of most humans. I was no different before I got into the occult field and figured out how to get my soul out of that. Okay, I was shelled completely. Okay, I was no different. You're no different. He and she are no different. Okay, so let me explain. So what happens is we're born into Malkuth, the physical plane. Our soul and our spirit are one. Okay, now as we grow older, starting with our parents, we're immediately indoctrinated. Okay, then we get into the system, the school system. We have social circles. We watch TV shows. We watch movies. We listen to music. All of these different outlets are different forms of indoctrination that subtly separate the soul from the spirit. Okay, so it puts you into a two state, which is a chaotic state because you're not in union. Okay, you're not in the one state. Basically, it's a separation of the masculine and the feminine energy within yourself to separate it and split it into two. So what happens during this splitting process is the soul gets split from the spirit remains in Malkuth, and the soul goes into the underworld. Now, obviously, there's tons of Kabbalistic technology on how to do that, on how to split someone's soul, and I know it perfectly. I know exactly how to do it to somebody, and I know exactly how it happens in the mainstream industries. I see it. I can literally see the rituals being done that are programmed to split someone's soul. But the average person doesn't know that. They're just thinking it's a music video or a TV show or a movie, whatever the case is. Regardless, that's what happens. The soul gets separated, the spirit remains in Malkuth, and the soul gets dropped into the Qliphoth. Okay, the Qliphoth has 10 different spheres that are hellish multiverses. Okay, multiverses of inorganic and dark matter energy. Now, the reality is the human being usually doesn't even know that. They don't even know that their soul is shelled in the Qliphoth. Now, obviously, if you're sensitive to energies, you may get the inclination, or you may get that psychic sense that I am in some sort of state of hell because I don't feel like I can get in touch with myself. I feel like I'm like not me. Okay, that's a good indication that your soul is shelled. Okay, and this is the common state for the majority of human beings. So, when the soul is shelled in the Qliphoth, that means their spirit can't penetrate into their soul. And the soul is the feminine aspect of the human being that allows the human to be receptive to pull in energy, to pull in awareness, to pull in power. It's the part of the human being that guides the human with intuition into areas of the unknown that can potentially provide opportunity and, once again, power, evolutionary power. So this shell that develops around the soul, you could think of psychically, it's literally an energetic shell that will form around the human, and their spirit cannot penetrate that shell because it's so solid. And as time goes on, the longer a human being's soul is shelled, the harder it's going to be to pierce into it and get in touch with the soul and get to that union state again, the one state. So this is the common thing that happens to the majority of human species, where their souls get shelled in the Qliphothic realm, and then over time they get so shelled that it basically, you could think of it as getting processed in a system, and there's different levels to that processing, and then when it gets to the final stage, it's like it's wrapped up, done. There's almost no point of return. Okay, this is literally what will happen to the human soul. And when it gets that place of no return, the soul basically transfers to a location called the middle place, which is basically you are servant to the chaos entity, which I like to call Yaldabaoth. You're just a default servant. You have no opportunity to really get back in touch with your soul. Your awareness is completely constructed by parasitic energy that is basically trying to feed off of you. And this sounds harsh, and this is hard to absorb and be receptive to if you had this preconceived idea that, you know, after death, you simply can just reincarnate and start again. This is actually what's happening, and this is real, what I'm talking about. And obviously, a lot of people are afraid to speak about it the way that I'm speaking about it. One, because they don't know about it, because it's too hard for them to understand within themselves, because obviously, this is a red pill I'm handing you right now. Okay, this is the pill that when you take, it hurts to understand this, because this is a reality of what's happening energetically. You don't have to agree with me, okay? You don't have to, but this is what's happening, okay? So, since the human being's soul is either in the middle place or in one of the Qliphothic spheres, which are all different dark matter energy multiverses, during their lifetime, what happens is when their physical body dies, which, you know, obviously if your soul is shelled and it's in one of those underworld multiverses, you're going to age faster. Okay, this is why when we go throughout time and we study ancient texts going back thousands of years, there has always been people that have lived thousands of years, hundreds of years. Now, in today's time, most of human beings only live to, you'll be lucky to make it to 100. Okay, so that obviously is a clear indication that the majority of the mass collective is shelled. Okay, so obviously what I'm trying to make clear is if your soul is shelled, you age way faster and you die quicker. Okay, because that's a part of the big processing system for people that have bypassed this technology of having your soul shelled and then, you know, going to hell after you die. Okay? So let me come back to the point. So now that we understand that this is the majority state, this is the mass collective state for the human being, to have a soul that's shelled in the Qliphoth, or in an underworld multiverse, you can say. What happens when their physical body dies is the spirit, obviously, leaves Malkuth because they're no longer in the physical plane. So their awareness instantly transfers to their soul, because that is what is their sexual energy. The soul is literally the sexual energy. And that is the consciousness of the human being. The unconscious, subconscious, and the conscious of the human being literally resides within the soul. So the spirit will leave Malkuth, the physical plane, Earth, when the body passes, and it will reawaken in the soul body, also known as the astral body. Now, if your soul was shelled throughout life and up until the point where you physically die, then you're going to wake up where your soul is located. So you're going to wake up in one of those underworld multiverses or one of those Qliphothic spheres. And as I said, what's going to happen, the result of that is you are going to be instantly aware that you basically failed in regards to being able to free yourself from what's known as the wheel of samsara, or the karmic wheel is also what it's known as. You have failed in regards to getting in touch with your astral body and then freeing yourself from those shells, from those underworld multiverses. So what happens is you wake up in them, or in one, and you have to immediately start recontemplating, and this is just a natural byproduct of what takes place. You start recontemplating all the mistakes you made in your life, all the events that were negative. And obviously that produces a sense of deep sorrow, deep grief, and a sense of negative pressure on your soul. And that produces energy, okay? That produces energy for occultists like myself that shell people that, we don't like. So that's why this technology exists in the first place. And this technology is called Luciferianism. But that point aside, that is what will happen when somebody wakes up after death. They will oftentimes, and most of the times, find themselves somewhere in the underworld multiverse, one of the Qliphothic shells. And then once they've fully spent, it could take years, they've spent time contemplating all the mistakes they've ever made, then they finally can dissolve back into source, and then they will reincarnate again into a human vessel. But what oftentimes happens is they go through the exact same process where they get re-separated. So you could think of it when they dissolve into source and then come back, it's like a wiped, blank, clean slate. So obviously in life, the source aspect of just being a human being in general, you always have the potential to reach your highest potential. You always have that potential. It will always present you an opportunity to get yourself into that state of freedom where you don't have to be shelled for eternity or for many, many different lifetimes or incarnations. But oftentimes, most people do not pick up on that. So what will happen is they will go through the exact same pattern where they will re-separate their spirit from their soul, and they will live their entire life without remembering that was their big mistake, was not remembering, even though the opportunities were given to them. So this is also part of the program of the ego, to lock the human consciousness into staying distracted away from getting in touch with their soul. So this is the cycle that can literally take place for thousands of years with one human being. So you could think about it, the majority, the mass collective, has been going through these cycles for thousands of years, okay? And obviously, we can see that clearly. Once again, look at the mass collective. They're like chickens running around without heads, okay? At least that's the way I see it. And obviously, there are people that have got out of that cycle. And that would be somebody like myself. Now, the way to get out of that cycle is through dark matter energy. So obviously, dark matter energy is what locks you in that cycle. It's literally the Clipothic realms, the underworld multiverses. So the same thing that locks you into those cycles is the same key to get you out of those traps and those cycles. So obviously, the way that you bypass having your soul shelled after death is by understanding what these underworld multiverses really are, and then embracing them for what it is, which in other words would be embracing dark matter energy within yourself, because that is the soul aspect of your being. Okay? Now, from a Kabbalistic perspective, this would be initiating yourself through the Clipothic tree and through the tunnels of Set, because these are the structures of dark matter energy multiverses. Okay? So you would travel through them. And as you go through them, guess what? You're understanding what they are. And simultaneously, if you're going through it the way that I explain you should and you need to be a vampire going into it, meaning you're sucking in the dark matter energy as you're traveling through those dark matter energy multiverses, which is doing what? Increasing your soul's power to eventually break out of it. Okay? And once you finish that level of initiation, or that level of embracing dark matter energy, which is obviously challenging, it's not easy, you do feel what it's like to be in those lower multiverses. You do feel what it's like to be in that underworld plane. Physically, you will feel it, and you will psychologically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually experience what those planes feel like. Meaning, physically, you will start contemplating all the mistakes you've made in your life going through those different multiverses. But if you're doing it while you're still alive in the physical body, that's the key. Because you have the opportunity as a physical vessel that is on this organic planet, which is a very important thing. This is why being a human being is very valuable, and this is why we've all made that deal to come to Earth, even though making that deal required that we had to come as a blank slate, meaning our conscious was wiped. And then the goal to gain ultimate power is remembering where we came from and then why we came here. And what I'm explaining is that why we came here is because the way you can break out of this cosmic cycle of getting locked into these underworld multiverses is through the physical body. You're basically in two places at once, and the reason why we come here on the physical plane and even enter into this quote-unquote game of having to deal with this Kabbalistic structure, having to deal with these different multiverses and all this other stuff, is because this is the place where you can gain the most power. Once again, I'm going to say this again. Earth is the most organic planet in the universe. Okay? This is why Earth is important. This is why the human species is actually very important. Okay? But that also means that because of this level of value that you can gain here as a physical human being, there are also going to be predators that are wanting to feed off of that organic energy. Okay? So part of this construct of these underworld planes and underworld multiverses, this is where that predatory space is. So obviously, there are people that can use your soul's energy and potential by getting your soul to forget why you're here. Because remember, if your soul is shelled, that produces negative pressure. And that negative pressure can produce bubbles of reality. So if I could trick you into forgetting you have a soul, and into forgetting what your potential is, and to forget why you even decided to come here, then I can harness all of your soul's energy that you've freely and willingly given up because you are consuming my ritualistic content that I'm intending to shell you with. Then I gain all your soul's power because I have connections to these dark matter energy interdimensional forces that give me wealth, success, money, and power from getting you to sell your soul to those interdimensional realms, those dark matter energy interdimensional multiverses. Now, if you're somebody like me, who's an apex predator, an ultimate apex predator, I'm somebody that benefits from both. Okay, I benefit from evolution, and I benefit from dark matter energy. So obviously, Earth needs to evolve. I mean, if this is the most important planet, then you can imagine that this planet and its evolution must be one of the most important things that needs to take place. So the thing that a lot of people forgot that have been using this Luciferian technology in the A-list community, or in the billionaire community, the people that control the economy, they're all into this occult stuff. I don't need to explain any of that right now. That's already understood. The thing that they forgot, obviously, is that this planet needs to evolve. So these people are shelling. They're basically, their only goal is to use Luciferian technology to shell your soul to produce power in their life by the interdimensional entity that they're selling or shelling your soul to, which is who? Lucifer. Lucifer being the ultimate archangel of light and also the ultimate ruler of the underworld, which is why the West is ruled by Luciferianism. It's all about shelling souls. Now, the thing that these people didn't understand about Lucifer, with Lucifer being the archangel of light, being the light bearer, he is an angel that has to bring evolution. And once again, he's an angel that embraces dark matter energy as well, also as the ruler of the underworld. So what does that mean? When it comes to a certain point where the planet needs to evolve, that becomes Lucifer's primary focus. So if you have all these people that are using ancient Luciferianism technology, and they're doing it to shell the mass collective, and then at a certain point in time, their technology that they're using starts hindering evolution and our planet's evolution, then that means Lucifer has to start finding a different way to shell different people and to produce evolution. So then you have somebody like myself that comes along that says, look, I'm not really into shelling people that don't deserve to be shelled, because I don't want to live on a planet that is parasitic. I don't want to live on a planet where people are depressed, angry, jealous. I don't want to live on a planet that has people that act like that. Okay, that's annoying. I don't like that. So you have people like me that come along that want evolution to take place so that I can live in a better world. And also people like me that also are embracing dark matter energy. So if I can find somebody that's hindering evolution, especially the evolution that I want and I am intending to happen, then how about I use that technology that you're using that's causing a kink in the hose for evolution? How about I use that technology on you, and I shell you, and I reverse the process So basically, all the people that have been using Luciferianism on the cattle, the mass collective, the innocent people essentially, what if I started, and people like me started shelling those people? I wonder what would happen then. And another piece of food for thought would be, if Lucifer is the light bearer, the one that brings awareness and consciousness to the unknown and to the darkness, the true black light, then he's also the underworld king and the underworld authority. Wouldn't that make sense that Lucifer would turn on all of the people that were using his technology to shell the mass collective just for power? And because they weren't aware of evolution, because they weren't giving other people that evolutionary opportunity, wouldn't it make sense that Lucifer would end up shelling them and turning his own technology on them? And then wouldn't it make sense that occultists like myself that embrace that Luciferian energy of, evolution and dark matter energy, being an apex predator, wouldn't it make sense that Lucifer would take the side or aid those types of humans that come to that awareness and practice it on a daily basis? If you ask me, that's exactly what's taking place. Okay? So I know this kind of went off track a little bit, but I did want to bring up a little bit about Lucifer, because this whole technology that is shelling the soul of the mass collective is a Luciferian technology. But it's a technology that can be used to aid in evolution by what I'm explaining if you're using it on people that are, we can call them parasites, where they're basically dark matter energy people that have no intention for evolution. Now, obviously, those people can't be around forever because our planet needs to evolve. I need to evolve. I want to live in a world that's beautiful. Okay? And there's other people that are like me out here. But I'm also dangerous. I'm also an apex predator. And I don't mind removing a parasite or two. So that's basically why I'm bringing this up, because if we reverse that technology, instead of shelling the mass collective and started shelling these types of people that were using Luciferian technology and were worshiping Lucifer, then we see a whole shift in power dynamics. And that is the time that we're in right now, and this is exactly what's happening. So the goal to break out of that shell that's placed on the majority of every human is to step into, one, that Luciferian current of recognizing that you have to walk in the darkness to find the light. It's recognizing that that darkness is actually the light. I mean, think about it. Dark, black, the color black is the entire spectrum of all colors. Black is the light. It is light. Dark matter energy is way more potent than light matter energy. Light matter energy is produced by dark matter energy. So that is the key to unshelling your soul, is by embracing that. Because your soul is the negative energy field of your being. It is the feminine, receptive, intuitive aspect of your energy field. So that's the first place to start to reawaken to the awareness that, holy shit, my soul is what is the key to getting me out of the multiversal prison that I've been locked into. And the way out is by diving into the darkness, by diving into what is dark matter energy. And this is why black magic can be very valuable. But obviously, you want to have the foundation of recognizing the entire purpose of black magic and embracing dark matter energy is to increase your evolutionary power. It's not to just get money. It's not to just get fame. It's not to just get reputation. It's about increasing your evolutionary power so that you can free yourself outside of the fifth dimension, outside of the multiverse. So that when you die, you don't wake up in hell. And that's the entire point, okay? So I'm going to leave it there. I think this video definitely covered a lot of stuff. I think it's going to offer a lot of people value. And yeah, that's what I'm going to say. If you enjoyed this video, definitely make sure you hit the thumbs up button, okay? Also make sure you go ahead and you hit that notification bell. And right next to that, make sure you go and hit that subscribe button, because I post videos as often as I can, and I love to see my subscribers shoot through the roof, okay? I also want to say, if you know anybody that is interested in this type of content that you think could potentially get value from listening to this type of content, please feel free to copy that link and send it to them. Just send it over to them. Say, hey, I think you would be interested in this. Check it out, okay? Feel free to do that, and feel free to post it on your social medias. You know, go ahead. Okay, so with that being said, the first thing that I would like to take your awareness to is my Patreon. So the Patreon is going to be located at the first link in my YouTube description. Okay, it's literally the first link, says Patreon right next to it. And on my Patreon, I have tons of exclusive content that is not on my YouTube channel, that literally ranges all the way from live streams to occult practices that are fundamental in regards to increasing your power that I teach on camera, and then I teach you how to do it yourself, all the way to deep studies on the Kabbalah and all of the different spheres from the Tree of Life and the Klippah, all the way from other videos that I have that are just valuable in nature. Okay, there is a ton of content that is on my Patreon, over 100 videos that can offer you a lot of value. And my top tier is a tier that I actually perform a service for you, okay, on you. So if you're interested in looking into what those different tiers have to offer, then definitely check out that first link in the YouTube description, okay? So that's what I'm gonna say. That huge shout out to all of my Patreon members. I appreciate all of you very much for specifically taking your studies, your knowledge, and your practice to that next level. Okay, and then I want to give a huge special shout out to the top tier members for specifically taking your practices to that next level. Huge shout out to all of you, and I have all the top tier members that are literally tier 4. All of their names are mentioned in that YouTube description as well, just below the Patreon link. Okay, huge shout out to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. And then a third shout out to all of my YouTube subscribers. I appreciate all of you for really tuning in and absorbing this information. It's always going to be very valuable, okay? Now, the second link in the YouTube description is going to take you to where you can book a tarot card reading with me. And on that tarot card reading, I can literally pinpoint exactly where you are located on the Kabbalistic tree. Okay, so a lot of people don't know this, but whether you're aware of the Kabbalistic tree or not, you're actually somewhere traveling on it, because the Kabbalistic tree is the multiverse, and obviously if you are here living on Earth, you're existing within the multiverse, okay? So if you want to know where you are in regards to the multiverse and where you're located in regards to the Kabbalistic structure, then definitely go ahead and book a reading with me, because I can pinpoint where you are, and then I'll tell you what to expect in the near future, and then where you're going to be traveling to in the long-term future, which gives you the perspective of what's going to be coming with that energetically, okay? So once again, the second link in the description is where you can book that tarot card reading with me, okay? All right, now the third link in the YouTube description is going to take you to where you can become a YouTube member. So on my YouTube membership, you're going to gain access to an exclusive emoji system. Now, this emoji system is designed by me strategically to be able to be used in a psychic warfare manner. So that means that you can type out a simple set of emojis that literally takes 10 seconds, and you can place targets within that emoji system that actually causes psychic damage to those targets. So the targets are obviously going to be people that are coming against your evolution, people that you would consider enemies, okay? And you can target them with the psychic warfare program and cause psychic damage to them. And the system really does work. And the more people that use it, the more powerful it becomes. And there's already a bunch of people that are using it, okay? So if you want to gain access to that psychic warfare program, definitely become a YouTube member. And as well, your name will appear green for whenever I do my live streams. And I will be giving you a special shout out when I see your name appear as a YouTube member. Okay? So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I highly appreciate all of you, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day or night wherever you are, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.